It's not a typical love story because it's not between a human and a human. He's a creature. Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. This is the Thursday Thoughts, where we talk about all kinds of stuff that I'm thinking about. And today I want to share with you guys some more anime recommendations that I have, and then later on we're going to shift gears into Bob's Burgers because that's how this always goes, okay? Let's not pretend like we don't know where this is going. And we're just going to jump right into it. So this past week I watched two different animes, and they both have to do with romance, as always, because that's what I like, okay? I like what I like. Everyone says Cody's this, Cody's that, Cody's this. Cody is me, bro. Let me be me. But the first anime that I want to talk about is The Ancient Magus's Bride. It's interesting. I was very hesitant to watch this because it's a little weird, but I will say, as always, the art style is wonderful. I love the animation. It's fantasy and it's got all kinds of beautiful imagery and magic. And if you like fantasy, you're gonna really enjoy this. But the thing that I was hesitant about is that it's not a typical love story because it's not between a human and a human. The male lead, his name is Elias, and he's a creature. And we don't know what he is. He doesn't know what he is either. And that's kind of what they're figuring out during the show. He's trying to figure out who he is, where he came from. It's a whole thing. So it's like, oh, a little bestiality up in here. But it's intriguing because his character is really cool. Elias is with Chise. They start out with her. She has a horrible childhood growing up, and she's kind of ready to just end things, and then things turn around when she offers herself up into an auction to be sold off. Sounds weird, but that's the story. And Elias is the one who buys her to be his apprentice. He's a mage, and he wants to teach her magic as well so she can be a mage, because she's able to see all kinds of magical creatures and all of that kind of stuff. And there's a lot more to her as well, magically, that he wants to understand and train and all of that. And then he also eventually wants her to marry him, and that's really cute. But it's very heartwarming because she grows up without love. No one likes her, let alone loves her and wants her around. And he's the first one who calls her family and accepts her. Except for this one librarian that she met when she was young, but that was also a whole thing. So it is a very sweet story, but it's also kind of dark, so be prepared for that. But it's good. I actually haven't finished it yet. I'm still going through it, and I think another thing I appreciate about it is that it's lengthy. It's got some good meat to it. If you've watched anime before, especially romance anime, they have this terrible trait of only having 12 episodes, and then they won't finish it. What the heck? Usually after that, I'll just go to the manga and I'll finish it there. I'm like, you can't leave me on this cliffhanger right now. What the heck happens? The main season is 25 episodes, and then it keeps going from there. So that's exciting. The next anime I want to talk about is called Nina the Starry Bride. Another bride story. Between two humans, actually three humans. I'll get into that. But Nina is poor. She lives basically like Aladdin. She steals food from the market and all of that to survive with her friends. And one day, one of her so-called friends sells her to slave traders, and it turns out that they wanted to use her as an imposter to take place of the princess that just recently died. The carriage had fallen off a cliff and she died, and this girl, Nina, she happened to look like her. No one has seen the princess up to this point because she grew up in isolation, so they're like, okay, well, this girl, she kind of looks like her. The biggest attribute that she has that will work in their favor are her blue eyes. She has very, very blue eyes. So she goes into training to become this princess, and the guy who's training her, he is the second prince of the country, and they end up falling in love. Shocker. Azur is his name, and she calls him Oz for short. It's cute. And in the show, as the princess, her name is Alicia, but Oz is the only one who calls her Nina because she wants someone to still know her for who she truly is and not as this role that she's putting on. There is conflict, of course, that arises. The original plan was to have this princess go and be married off to a neighboring country who's actually their enemy, and she was going to be married to the prince in this other country called Galgadon. But then Azur and Nina fall in love. He's like, oh, well, let's just dissolve your engagement. I want you to stay here with me. I love you, girl. And first she was like, yeah, that's a great plan. And then the current king of Fortna, the country that they're together, and she finds out he's an awful person and he's threatening the prince's life, something like that. I'm fuzzy on the details, but essentially Nina decides that the only way that she can protect Fortna, protect her country, is if she actually goes and follows through with her engagement to this other prince. And the issue is, this other prince is kind of an awful human being. He seems to be a little, what's the word? Sociopathic? He just doesn't really have emotions. But because Nina is who she is and she's that girl, this other prince ends up falling in love with her, and there's a whole love triangle. So that's why I say it's about three humans, because there's this whole love story in between these three people. And usually it doesn't bother me, but the thing that bothers me is that she actually has feelings for both of them, and it's like, ugh, like, I don't know who to choose. And maybe that's like part of the charm of the story, is that you feel how Nina feels, like she doesn't know who to choose either. But like, I want one of them to be amazing and the other one to be awful. And like, it seems like an easy choice at first, but then the characters are nuanced, and so it's not necessarily that easy of a choice. So yeah, it's a little bit complicated because of this love triangle. I don't know how to feel about that yet, but I do really enjoy, again, the art style. It's really pretty. I like the characters. They're well made. Nina is strong and beautiful, and she grows so quickly, and she cares about people, and she's just got a lot of great potential to be a great leader. So The Ancient Magus's Bride and Nina the Starry Bride, if you haven't seen them, check them out. And now we're going to shift gears into Bob's Burgers, my favorite segment. I just wanted to talk about why I feel like Bob's Burgers is some of the best TV therapy that's out there. It fills a hole in your heart. No, that's dramatic, but it is very lighthearted. It's feel good. It's just good TV. It's well made. I don't know. I feel like mainly it's because of the Belcher family. Like, they just have a great dynamic. They're funny. They each have such individual weird personalities, but they're somehow still relatable at the same time. And they always get into some kind of weird, crazy shenanigans. Something always goes wrong. But then at the end of the day, they really support each other and love each other through all of the craziness. And I feel like that's just really healthy to see on TV, you know, healthy family dynamic and relationships, especially to see like conflict between the family, but then them still loving each other and coming back together and resolving that conflict at the end of the day. And I appreciate that, but it just feels like a big warm hug. And I also like how they have some kind of conflict going on. They're people, they do, you know, the wrong thing from time to time, usually most of the time, but then there's some kind of moral to it, and they learn from their mistakes. I forget what that's called in storytelling. Do they do that in fables? I don't know, but so as they're learning something, they're also teaching you something. An example that I think of is the episode where the school counselor, Mr. Frond, he starts dating Gail, who is Linda's sister, and so it's the kid's aunt, it's Aunt Gail, and Gail is, Gail is something else.
Oh, no. No.
Oh my God!
They don't like Mr. Frond, the family in general.
I know Mr. Fran isn't exactly our favorite person.
Great talk. Now let's kick him out. Dad, get the broom.
Hey, we are not gonna ruin this for Gail.
But especially Louise, because she's typically in his office because she's in trouble and he's disciplining her, and she is not a fan of him. So whenever they find out that the man that Aunt Gail met was Mr. Frond, Louise is like, no, we gotta get him out of here. This can't happen. They can't date. This is unacceptable. And so she's trying everything she can to separate them. And of course, you know, that's wrong, because their Aunt Gail is a strange bird, but he is also strange, and there's someone for everyone. And so not a great plan for her to try and split them up. And by the end of it, Louise ends up learning her lesson, and she kind of knows it deep down. And so she doesn't necessarily need someone to tell her that what she's doing is wrong, but it just takes her a minute to get there.
Just because it was my idea to take the doll and break up Frond and Gail and sing a Spanish ballad about the dangers of love. Sure, blame me.
Okay. Louise.
What? Why are you looking at me like that? Because you gotta kiss a klepto? Cut it out. What? You think I should want Aunt Gail to be happy because she's our aunt and we love her? You're saying I'm being selfish? A selfish brat? Is that what you're saying? Oh, gosh darn it! Son of a... You, Tina! You're right, okay?
So even through just all of the conflict of Louise being kind of selfish and trying to get her way in this, it still comes to the end where she loves her Aunt Gail and she wants the best for her. And if she's happy, then she needs to be happy for her. I feel like that's a good example of just that like chaotic family dynamic. You know, they're doing crazy stuff, but at the end of the day, they still love each other. And that is good TV in my book. But anyways, if you have not seen Bob's Burgers, I highly, highly recommend it. If you take anything away from this video, I know I talk a whole lot, but Bob's Burgers is therapeutic. But I think that is it for the Thursday Thoughts. Again, I did not tell you guys to like and subscribe the video, so I'm going to do it right now. If you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button and also hit the subscribe button so that you can see this face a whole lot more. And let me know in the comments any anime recommendations that you have, any Bob's Burgers episodes that you love, anything that you'd like to hear me talk about. Throw it down there in the comments. I would love to read it. I'd love to talk back and forth with you guys, get this community going, and that's enough. I've talked your ear off, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye.